take a look around and find somebody to War Eagle. It's showtime.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
Well, hello there, Auburn, Alabama. I'm not dead. Hello to you in all points around the globe where War Eagle can be heard and returned with joy. I mean, really, honestly. Heard and returned with joy. I've gotten a lot of random War Eagles around the world, around my travels recently. It's been quite nice. Various far-flung places away from the rolling hills and plains of Auburn, Alabama. But I hope, as always, this message finds you truly well and joyful and that you are looking forward to the annual giving of thanks. Speaking of which, can we all just go ahead and put the forced inertia of marketing mentality aside and agree that tacos are better than turkey? And why we're all not doing taco buffets on Thanksgiving is beyond me. I have no idea. I don't know where in the hell this notion. First of all, the historical tie of pilgrims to Thanksgiving doesn't really make any sense, given the actual accurate unfolding of history. And also, they didn't eat turkey. At best, history says that they ate squirrel and raccoon and shellfish and various whatever they could find. Whatever they could barely grow and barely find. So this whole bullshit of turkey, it's the same reason why we eat, why the American culture felt compelled to eat bacon and eggs for breakfast, starting at a certain particular time when Edward Bernays was hired by the, I think it was the pork farmers and dairy farmers of America, as they had surpluses they need to get rid of. By the way, hey, America, bacon and eggs are really good for you, and breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Propaganda. So turkey. Do you really, honestly, be honest with yourself, do you actually like turkey? Or are you just compelled to consume it on this one day a year? How much of the rest of your life do you eat turkey? Probably not very much. And any bird that has to be crammed with that many growth hormones and steroids to create the size of edible meat turkeys, and then the amount, the things that we have to do to a turkey to prepare it to not taste like butt, seems like a stretch. And quite honestly, if your Thanksgiving is constructed around the stuff, the type of food and how it's prepared and what it is and all the decorations, then you're just living life wrong anyway. Hopefully you can gather with one or more loved ones, friends, family, and get together and commiserate, break bread. Figuratively speaking, it doesn't matter what kind of bread that you break. As long as the spirit is there, the giving of thanks, the stuff around it shouldn't matter. And turkey doesn't make any sense to me. Ham, if you're going to go with something traditional, ham's better than turkey anyway, but why not have a taco buffet? or a big sandwich or soup. It's good soup weather right now in pretty much most of the country. So why not? Turkey, ridiculous. Too much effort. And the reward is not worth the effort more often than not. So that's all I got to say about that. Yes, indeed, here I are, Auburn family. Welcome to all of you, the consumers of Auburn broadcast transmissions, and welcome to Auburn Stuff. This is a variety show podcast where we talk about turkey and tacos and also the philosophy of life in orange and blue and other stuff that you may or may not find entertaining and informative, but that I certainly do. And here we are. Yes, I've been gone for a long, long time. You may or may not have noticed. And when last we spake, we were coming off, or we were going into, what the hell was going on? We were, boy, that must have been before the Arkansas. Yeah, because we spoke about the game versus Booger Eater University. And, we all kind of knew what was going on there. And there was no, I think, in fact, that I said before that game that, on my last episode, that we may not speak after that because, it was fairly predictable and why. I mean, there was some stuff to talk about, like why the hell no one could catch a football. But quite honestly, that kind of stuff gets beat to death and analyzed and talked to the point of where it's excruciating. So, pardon me while I take a sip of my nice warm latte on this crispy, cool day here in the South Carolina Low Country. I mean, why not? Everybody else seems to think it's okay to eat and drink into a microphone, so I might as well join the cultural decline as well. Oh, yeah, because everybody wants to hear smacking and slurping into a microphone, right? Remember when broadcasters used to have standards? Anyway, and I was on my way. One of the reasons that I've been gone for so long, if you care, is this is a very busy season for me, as many or most of you know what I do for a living. It's fall wedding season, and I've had weddings to photograph all over the southeastern United States, and it's been quite delightful, starting with the October 16th wedding I had in Asheville, North Carolina. And that was, thankfully, we had the game against Arkansas kicked off at noon North Carolina time. So I was able to kind of watch most of that game before I had to go to work. And thanks to the miracle of modern technology, I could just basically pause it and come back to view the remainder of the game as after my work, and that was a fantastic outcome. It's very difficult to in this blanket of information dissemination to go radio silent on all notifications so that you don't see a result before you watch the end of a recorded game. But anyway, so I was in Asheville. I did not take any recording equipment because I had way too much crap to do anyway, and I didn't want to do just some shitty version of the podcast. So I figured I'd get back to it when we got home and had some things to discuss about Asheville, which is a dichotomy like most things in the world. And incidentally, I'm in about the 8th iteration of my recording studio, and I'm in a bigger space now without my soundproofing. And so my apologies. You all know how I feel about audio, quality audio. So if there's a bit of reverberation coming through the microphone, my apologies. Hopefully all the software and processing will take care of that. I can hear it a little bit in my ears. Hopefully you won't. So Asheville. I live about 4 hours and 45 minutes from Asheville, so it's not that far a drive up the road, and it's a place, well, let's just say that area of the North Carolina mountains is a place that we like to get away to. I live near the beach. It's about a 15-minute drive to the beach for me, and I hate the beach. I was an infantry Marine and, among other things, in the Marine Corps, and I do not like getting in, on, or around the sand anymore in my life. I do not want to be wet and sandy. So, if you can understand that or not. Anyway, I do not go to the beach. I prefer the mountains. I grew up in the mountains. And quite honestly, when you have an 8-month-long summer, it's nice to get away from the disgusting heat and humidity at sea level. So we love to get to the mountains. However, we do. I will not speak for anyone else. Asheville, it's a shame what has happened to Asheville. Now, the surrounding areas, we like to go hike Mount Mitchell up there. We like the area, the surrounding areas of Asheville. Asheville itself has become a pit of sociopathic nonsense. A little enclave of assholery in the middle of an otherwise decent group of people. And it's a shame. It's a shame. A bunch of, because of its proximity to Charlotte and Atlanta and several other metropolitan areas, it has become a haven for Karens and other ilk like that to go show their little statuses. I mean, hell, I think half of these people go there just to do social media posts about that they're there and never even venture out into the mountains. So anyway, we were there. The wedding I photographed was fun. It was beautiful. It was wonderful to have a fall wedding in the mountains like that. And the bride was someone who I've known. Their family has been friends of our family for probably about 15 years now. So, and I photographed her high school senior photos as well as some other things. So that's always a fun part of my business. And the result of the Arkansas game was a lot of fun, and it brought the Auburn family up to its feet. Hopeful at the prospects, even following the game, the horrifying loss at home to Booker University. But the LSU win, the breaking of the streak, combined with the road brunch game at Arkansas, the victory there gave hope. And then came Ole Miss. And this was a game, if you've been paying attention, that you know that I attended with Mrs. Auburn stuff. And we had a lovely time. So as the Ole Miss game approached and we watched Ole Lane and his boys rack up points like a pinball machine on just about everybody, it was a bit worrisome, was it not? Our defense was, a bit, I don't know, it was frustrating, the right word to watch because of the whole, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say that phrase. The strategy, the employed strategy to sort of flex and then tighten up. But the defense was doing well, and the defense really surprised the hell out of us on that game. If you had, of course, here's the line of the week for that particular game, is that if you had told anyone that Auburn playing that version of Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss would have scored, we got a field goal in the second half, would have only scored 3 points in the second half, and that the defense would have basically directed that game, would anyone have believed you that that was an Auburn win? Of course not. But we were at that game. It was a lot of fun. It was a night kickoff, so we got the enjoyment of the light show, which is really cool. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. They did a really good job with that, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun, especially when you get a night game. I saw it early. I saw the first game of the season, and of course in early September, it's doesn't get dark until 8 o'clock or so. So it's difficult to appreciate, but it was really cool, and it was chilly that day, but it wasn't too cold. It was actually windy as hell, and it misted. It rained and misted most of the day. We had our tailgate set up over in the campus safety lot in the shadow of Jordan-Hare Stadium, and we were ready, though. We had a good time all day long. We set up our tailgate early in the morning, about 9 o'clock or so, and we're there all day long. But it's cool when you have a centralized area like that. You've got your car with you, so you bring changes of clothing and all your snacks and your tailgate stuff that you need. And then, of course, you can just walk 5 or 10 minutes here or there to whatever restaurant or establishment that you'd like, and then go back to your base. So that game was a lot of fun, especially given the results. And the crowd, I was very proud of the crowd, because the last game that we had attended was the 2 years before, because we didn't go to a game during COVID, because there's no way in hell I'm going to pay, $125 for a ticket to sit in a 1/5 full football stadium. But we were at the Ole Miss game 2 years before that in 19, when the famous evacuation of the student section happened, because it was cold that night, and all the girls, there hadn't been a home game in the entire month of October, and so the girls didn't get to wear their mini skirts and cowboy boots for that entire fall. So they thought it'd be a good idea to show up in that, and froze to death sitting on cold aluminum benches. However, this time that did not happen. It seemed like they came prepared, and the crowd was great. The crowd was great, and it's difficult, y'all, to maintain the intensity of volume when the opposing team is on offense when they run that fast. And that's a great strategy to beat crowd noise, is just get up to the line and get that ball going and run at tempo, because it's hard to maintain an intensity. I'm 52 damn years old. I'm about getting too old to sit there and scream and yell my head off for 3.5 hours sitting in a stadium. And you know that Gert and Stu aren't making any noise. Quite honestly, the vast majority of the cheering, the noise, the yelling, the roar is being made by probably 40% of the crowd. So you got to make up for those who can't or won't. But the crowd was great for that game, and it no doubt helped. Helped in the victory. And then following that came the offensive debacle versus TAMU. And that was a good football team. Don't know that translates to us only scoring 3 points, but that was a good football team. And we, for some reason, can't seem to be able to run the ball. And that hurt us against TAMU. But it is what it is. Listen, road wins in the SEC are difficult. We've had, two this year? We won at LSU for the first time in 1,000 years, and we won at Arkansas, a difficult venue, at a brunch game. So, listen, and we're getting to this. I have no notes in front of me, by the way. I got on here. I didn't want to just completely ghost and vanish. So this may or may not be, I don't know. The Auburn stuff franchise will live on, but I don't know how much more of this I got in me. Because quite frankly, I started this podcast just to have fun with myself. I don't make any money off of this. I don't ask you for any money. I don't ask you for anything other than likes and follows and, downloads and whatnot. And the scope, the sphere, the universe of Auburn media is it's mediocre to excruciating right now. There's just an incredible amount of really bad to boring to just mediocre things going on in the Auburn media right now. Everything from that psychopath at AL.com whose genuine mental disorder is being utilized by people with an agenda to tear the Auburn football team and their head coach down. I mean, this shouldn't come as any surprise to you. It's surprising how this particular poor lost soul, this psychopath, just can't see around him and what a diseased individual that he has become. So pray for that individual if you do such things. But about, I just do this to have fun. I don't analyze anything. I don't break film down. I don't do all that stuff. But you know who does? And absolutely the best job. Everybody else can go pound sand right now. There's some good, like Christian Clemente is fantastic. Nathan King does a really good job, although his podcast is really difficult to listen to because of audio and presentation issues, but he's a good reporter. Christian Clemente is the best. The rest of them are just everything from boring to we're wondering about your proclivity to the sexual exploits of teenage boys and your drunken favoring of that kind of thing. All of the way to that, to just meh. Here we are. Here's Auburn. Here's what we're doing. But the guys at the War Report are doing absolutely fantastic work. So if you're going to listen to anything, I don't know how much longer I'll be around doing this. The Auburn Stuff franchise will live on. I'll keep everything going, although the podcast platform costs me a lot of money and I don't make any money out of it, so it's difficult. So if you're going to give your money to anyone, if you're going to keep anybody going and growing an Auburn media franchise, the guys at the War Report, absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Giving you meaningful content and trying to keep things real and trying to rein in the utter and complete psychopathic assholery. I have way diverged from discussing the schedule and football games, but honestly, this psychopathic reaction to an Auburn loss and really anything by so many out there it's just jarring. It's really jarring, and it makes engaging in this just not fun. And the gratification that some get, that so many seem to get from freaking out and trying to tear people down all around them and drag them down into their own miserable existence. It's weird. I mean, the civilized world has seemingly willingly surrendered its moral standing as the bearer of light and the firewall against lunacy to the sophomoric and utterly nonsensical vomiters of ill-considered foolish drivel. It is not however, the least little bit surprising when you consider the resulting consequences of inculcating a few generations of males in a miasma of chemical intoxication, hypersaturation of kiddie porn, no sense of purpose or bearing in the world, and forced shame at the very notion of their existence. One could hardly expect anything different. And it's just not been fun recently. Because when you get a game like this thing that happened against Mississippi State, the worst loss in Auburn history, except for the next one or the last one or whatever. Look, y'all, we've all been through. It's amazing how short-sighted people are and how short memories are about how horrible things happen, and we should just forget everything. Just we all renounce our Auburnness, and everyone should be fired, and the earth should be salted, and the university should be razed to the ground. And oh my God almighty, would you get a sense of place in the universe and chill the fuck out for a second? Holy shit. They lost a football game in a really excruciating manner. Now what? I mean, what are you going to do? I swear to God, the people who get so wrapped around the axle about stuff like this, and they start, you can see them. I mean, these are the fuckers that spend time in these live, the streams that are on during games, commenting play by play about how people should be fired and benched and killed and, you know, pilloried and all this kind of stuff. And it's really god awful. I mean, do you enjoy anything in the world? But honestly, these are the kind of people, the people that you hear, that you read on these, God, hopefully you're not spending time on message boards. But those are the kind of people who, quite frankly, most of them not only have never been to Auburn, Alabama, but couldn't find Auburn on a map and probably couldn't find a map or tell you what a map is. They're, you know, everybody has their, what do they call them? The sidewalk alumni or whatever the hell they call it, where you just sort of see a thing and you glom onto it. Maybe you were, you know, around, maybe you liked Cam and that whole thing in 2019. You're one of those people who doesn't really have a base. You don't have a foundation of anything. And so you just sort of glom on to whatever's popular at the time, and you sort of came around during Cam in 2010, and that's when you became an Auburn fan. Fine. Fantastic. Welcome aboard. Don't be a dick. Okay? Because if you are, get out. Just get the fuck out right now. Fuck off and take everyone with you who thinks like you. And, or maybe you because of the media coverage in 2013 about all the stupid fucking bullshit around that Booger Eater University game with the ridiculous, we should have beat them by 4 touchdowns, but tried to lose the game twice. And then the kick 6. And it's hard not to get swept up in that. So if you became an Auburn fan in the wave of emotions around that whole thing, and then you got to live through the next few years of Gus, and you got disillusioned, which one could hardly blame you for that, but you have no context, you have no history, you have no foundation or base. And so that's what you do when nothing is real. You just, when you don't have that anchor, that foundation, that love for something, you just have some sort of tangential connection, not even a connection, some tangential interest in it. And so you just decided to be a fan of that team, and then all of a sudden they do shit that irritates you, and so you just demand that everything be burned to the ground. Just feel free to fuck all the way off, because you're excruciating. You aren't the people that we see on Saturday afternoons at the tailgates walking around campus. That's not you. And so if you're a fan, if you're spending money, which you're probably not, maybe you bought a jersey, but you don't, like I said, you're not the people that we see on campus or around town, ever. So every organization needs as much support as it can get, but if your support comes at a price, fuck off. Best to be in George Washington, I'll paraphrase, basically said it's better to be alone than in bad company. So, by extension, it's best to be in a small group of good people than in a large group comprised of assholes, clueless dopes. Yeah, I knew that little rant was going to come up. I just didn't know when. So, we lived. Somehow the sun came up the next day after Mississippi State, and we're still alive a week later. And we go to Columbia, South Carolina, which is just a mere 2-hour and 10-minute drive up the road from me. 2 years in a row they've played in Columbia now, and I haven't been. We had been offered tickets to this game. We just couldn't make it happen. Bad timing for me again. This is a crazy ass busy time of year for my business, and we just couldn't make it happen. Maybe that makes me a terrible member of the Auburn family, but so be it. It is what it is. I have been to 2 games in Auburn this year. I do my best. And so what's going to become of our team at this game? Who knows? They should win this game. South Carolina is terrible. They should just everything that you've already heard analyzed about this game. The defense coming off of being embarrassed should rally. And quite honestly, the players were hung out to dry in that Mississippi State game. So let's hope the coaches, the defensive coaches rally and the offensive coaches rally around the new quarterback, because that's something else we haven't covered. Bo and his broken leg and all the other stuff that happened last week. So, and that's the other thing. Those of you who spend time tearing down athletes of any kind, just grasp a hold of your own throat and lean forward and choke yourself. I don't care whether they're high school or college or professional athletes. They're pros. They get paid to take criticism. No, just fuck off. I mean, it's a unique public vocation to which these people aspire, using a given skill set that is some degree of elite. And I don't know, man. You just need to get a hold of yourself. Analyzing and being critical, being constructively critical of something in an analytical fashion is one thing. But personally tearing down these athletes it's just a waste of your time and a waste of everyone else's time. Just get a hold of yourself. So, and honestly, those of you to whom I was referring a few minutes ago with your emotional rantings about the failings of college athletes and your professed, proclaimed, alleged fanhood or love for Auburn football or Auburn University or Auburn athletics or whatever it is that you claim to have, do you really think that you're doing the university and that particular sport any favors by being such a dick online about it? Do you think that's going to help anything at all? What if a 5-star recruit is choosing between Auburn and school B, C, and D, and everything's kind of even? They're leaning Auburn maybe a little bit because they love it, but they see the amount of lunacy out there, and they're going to get torn down by you and your dumbass ilk. Maybe they lean the other way. Hopefully they're not paying that much attention to you. That's the thing. And sorry about all the tangents, but I can't believe that this is just an Auburn thing. Somebody let me know. I mean, we get siloed because honestly, I don't give a shit about anybody else. I don't pay attention to anybody. I'm not on message boards. I'm not on social media. I don't give a shit, and I don't pay attention to anything but Auburn stuff. And I try not to pay attention to the idiots. They sneak through the cracks sometimes. But anyway, this cannot be just an Auburn thing. I mean, you'll see the things where Alabama fans freak out when they fail to get a first down and they say that Nick Saban should be fired. And so this obviously is not just an Auburn thing. But I'd like to think that we could be a half notch better than those fucknuts up to the Northwest, don't you think? We always profess that we're not douchebags like that, but boy, we have our share. But I'd like to gather the light, as it were. Have a place where decent Auburn people can gather and they can praise the team or constructively critique the team's performance in a realistic and intellectual fashion, and be emotional about wins and emotional about losses, but grounded in reality, where all those people can gather and we can smite the douchery. Get people out. You don't belong. I don't care. You don't have any right to be in this community. Go away. Gather the light. Cut out, smite the darkness, as it were. So, I don't know. What else? What the hell else is going on? Orange face mask? That was a thing. I liked it. It was cool. When I first heard, I didn't even notice it during the game. That was the Ole Miss game, right? Because we were in the crowd, and you can't see from up there. I didn't even notice it. So when I saw it, when I went and later and watched the replay or my recording on TV, that was cool. I quite enjoyed the orange face mask because they weren't. I was worried when I first heard it. Of course, if you're anywhere near my age, you all remember what the hell we did way back in the day, and you're worried about those goofy looking 70s flat rubber orange face masks. These looked good. Whatever treatment or material, they put in the little polymer mix that made it sort of I don't know, shiny, whatever the word was. So that was cool. Enjoyed that. Like to see him again. I loved the white face masks at the whiteout game up at Penn State. I don't guess we've seen those again. And I thought the orange ones looked pretty cool. So yeah, I like those little curveballs here and there with the uniform without doing something stupid to change things. I mean, what else is going on? What else can we talk about here on this? What's piling up to be a largely nonsensical episode of this podcast. I don't know, the wailing and the gnashing of teeth over this playoff. Yeah, I mean, it's stupid. I don't care. I've said it before. Do it, put Cincinnati in or don't. It doesn't matter anyway. The teams who get all the money and all the media are going to be there at the end. It doesn't matter. Do a 64-team goddamn playoff in college football. It's not going to matter. The only thing that's going to make any difference, I think I've said this on this podcast before, but I've had this idea for a few years now, is make it a little bit more like high school football. So in other words, you can't, it's it doesn't matter what you do with this ridiculous polling and playoffs and all that stupid bullshit, because when you have 100 or 200 or however many teams there are playing for one final spot, it doesn't matter how many you put in the playoff, and it doesn't, because all the advantages are there anyway for Alabama and Oklahoma and Ohio State and Georgia and all these teams that have all that massive state money and all the conference money and the media money and all the side deals they make and all that shit they make. It's just not going to matter. So you need to break it down into divisions like high school football. 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, all that kind of stuff. I've said this before. What you say for Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina or, I don't know, Indiana or anybody like that who has no chance at all of ever winning a national championship, if they're in a different division, and I don't mean like 1AA, I mean, like I said, more like the divisions, the classifications that high school has. Do you think the single A high school guys are any less excited about winning a state championship because they're not in 6A? No. They won their state championship. They competed against like teams, similarly situated teams, to win their state championship. They weren't beat to death by schools that have 5,000 students and who are situated in areas where they have tons and tons of money coming in. You look at some of these population centers, like what Atlanta's become, the metro Atlanta area has become over the last 15 years or so, where you have a lot of former professional athletes retiring or moving to that area because it's such a desirable place to live, and their kids, so the progeny of the greatest athletes in the world, are kind of becoming condensed in certain areas like that. So these advantages are not going to go away, and they're going to be there forever. So break these teams down into more of a high school classification situation and have 8 or 9 national champions. It's not going to, you're still going to have your same 5 or 6 or 7 teams competing for that one, the big one, every year. So it doesn't matter. It's not going to make any difference. Spread the love around. So that argument, the whole playoff argument is just stupid. It's ridiculous. What else? Is there anything else to talk about here? Let's look at the slate of college football. So what happened last night? I guess we didn't have any Thursday games. We had Friday games, and it looks like number 24 Houston beat Memphis. Southern Miss beat Louisiana Tech. Air Force beat Nevada. Do you go Nevada or Nevada? Nevada seems really bizarrely wrong to anyone who's ever taken Spanish or anything linguistically related like that. So I go Nevada. But I guess in Nevada, they say Nevada. And Washington State beat the shit out of Arizona. All right, so in your top 25, you've got this bullshit. I think Georgia ends, don't they end their season with like Charleston? Who the hell did they play? Tennessee. But they end their season every single year with 2 cupcakes. Every year, because Georgia Tech has become a cupcake. And it's ridiculous. And besides that, they end their season with 2 non-conference games. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. That's stupid. They get to rest up before they after they finished off their bullshit side of the conference, playing 2 non-conference games that don't matter, rest up, and then go to the SEC championship game. Fuck them. And then you got Arkansas at Alabama. So, whatever. I think I counted it. Don't we have, at the current rankings, I think there are 6 ranked teams that are on Auburn's schedule. 6. Anyone else? Nope. Didn't think so. Oregon and Utah, who cares? Michigan State and Ohio State, honestly, at this point, who cares? I'm looking for someone out there who can beat that goddamn team from Athens And I don't know that they're there. And it's going to be so lame and weak that team from Athens finally cracks through for the first time in 40 years against a largely college football slate of teams that's just meh. Michigan, yeah, who cares? Cincinnati, I mean, that's the thing, man. Notre Dame, how are they still around? What is the deal with Notre Dame? Oklahoma State. Well, the power of the ACC. Wake Forest, number 10, is playing an unranked Clemson. Yeah, that's the state of college football right now. That is the year in which Booger Eater University is going to break their 41-year-old dry spell to the consternation of everyone else in the universe. So I don't care about that. So let's go conferences, SEC. There's no interesting games at all. It's a bad week. It's that week before rivalry week. And let's get an update on this crowd. UCF plays UConn. UCF, owners of a 6-4 record and a loss to Navy and some other bad shit. Sorry about that. All right, so anyway, it appears as though I have nothing interesting left to say, so I'm going to wrap it up right there and may or may not talk to you again ever. I don't know. Here we go. So if you're still out there, if you're still a fan of the podcast, and thank you for everybody. We've got something like 17 countries and 39 states where we've had downloads, and I certainly do appreciate you. I'd like to come back and do this again, but I just can't take the excruciating nonsense. And again, it takes a good deal of my time and resources to do this. I don't make any money out of it. I'm not looking to make any money out of it. That's ridiculous. I don't produce the kind of material that's worthy of any kind of payment. I just like to have fun with this. I like to try. And I know it's more fun to listen to a conversation than to listen to a monologue. Although I like to think that I'm having a conversation with all of you. I just can't hear you. But where I live, it's hard to find that, and I hate bad audio, so I just don't want to do it over Skype or Zoom or anything like that. So I don't know, man. The Auburn stuff franchise will stay around, and my microphone will always be here, so we'll see. Maybe I'll come back on tomorrow and talk about this amazing performance against South Carolina with TJ Finley throwing for 317 yards and 4 touchdowns. And a big 52-3 win over South Carolina in Columbia. As I watch the clock tick down. Anyway, thanks to all of you for always being out there and for being out there, and I'll be back at some point in time. We got some basketball to talk about too, so hopefully we'll see our 3-0 Tigers extend that stuff during the season to a greater extent. And with that, I bid you all good day. It is currently, as I sign off, it is 10:57 a.m. on Saturday morning, game day. 9:57 on the rolling hills and plains of Auburn, Alabama. And it's chilly out there. It's going to be cold tonight, so we'll see how the passing game performs. It's good football weather, but in Columbia tonight, it's going to be around kickoff time. It's going to be in the 40s. High 40s, and then around 40 degrees by the time the game ends. So it's good football weather. So enjoy that. Enjoy your day of college football beforehand, before our game kicks off. And remember to to try to achieve some balance and perspective in your life. I know that the good people of the Auburn Stuff family work to achieve that at all times. So if you know someone who is a sociopathic lunatic or some glommer on the crazy uncle of the Auburn family, have a talk with them, set them straight, hold them accountable. And if they refuse to be held accountable, if they continue to act like an asshole, smite them, cut them from your life, move on. Because we all have much better things, many better things to do than to deal with that craziness. So with that, I encourage you to download, like, share, listen, support the things, actively support the things that you love and that are important to you. And that's not just here in the Auburn world or in the sports world or the podcast world, but really out there in the greater world in general, who needs good people to stand up and take charge of the craziness. So with that, I will remind you once again to be mindful, be fit and authentic, because sometimes it's all you have, but most of the time, it is all you ever need. And until next time, I say to you, War Eagle, everyone, and see you down the road.